5 seconds. The wife of the appellant died of cyanide poisoning. It was alleged by the prosecution that the appellant had mixed up cyanide in a cold drink bottle of Limca and given it to his wife to drink. Apart from the Dr. PW14 and the forensic expert PW1716, more witnesses were examined to prove the culpability of the appellant. Out of them, PWS 1 and 2 were the father and the brother, respectively, of the deceased. The trial court, of a consideration of all the evidence produced before it, found that the prosecution had failed to prove the guilt of the accused beyond all reasonable doubts. It therefore acquitted him of the charge under Section 302 IPC against the judgment of the trial court. The state government preferred appeal. The High Court allowed the government appeal, reversed the judgment of acquittal passed by the trial court, and accordingly convicted the appellant under Section 302 IPC and sanctioned him to rigorous imprisonment for life. In the instant appeal, the question which arose for consideration was whether, on the basis of the materials on record, the view taken by the trial court was so wrong and unreasonable as to warrant interference and reversal by the High Court. Allowing the appeal, the court PW7 was the landlady in whose house the appellant and the deceased lived on rent, and PW3 was her maid. These two witnesses stated before the court how they had found the appellant's wife lying unconscious in a chair and had shifted her to hospital for treatment. PW3 further stated that at that time the accused was not present in the house, but he came to the hospital and an hour after the deceased was admitted there. Reasons this court is very reluctant in accepting the testimony of PW6 as regards the recovery of the empty Limca bottle from one of the rooms at the appellant's residence that was found by the forensic laboratory to contain cyanide. The appellant's residence was thoroughly searched soon after the death of Lakshmi Kumari. The scene of offense Panchnama is in considerable detail and it describes the appellant's residence and the articles found there. On the saja of the appellant's bedroom, suitcases and some miscellaneous articles were found and on slaves there were portraits of goddess, weekly magazines, other books and some clothes. It is rather strange that in course of such a detailed examination the sub-inspector should have missed out the empty Limca bottle that is shown to be recovered 3 days later from the same shelf. The Caesar memo does not state that the bottle was taken out by the appellant from some hidden place from where normally it could not be recovered without his assistance. The Caesar memo was prepared in presence of Panchnamas. Only one of them was examined by the prosecution as PW12. He denied that any recovery was made in his presence. On the contrary, he stated that police obtained his signatures on some papers, of which some were written and some were blank. He denied that in his presence the appellant had led the police to his house and had produced the Limca bottle, that the police had seized it under the seizure memo, and that he and another punch attested the Panchnama. Thirdly, it is in the seizure report under the column details of seizure. What is stated is one empty Limca bottle 300 ml. Thus, at the time of seizure, there was no white powder visible inside the bottle as is mentioned in the report of the Forensic Science Laboratory. Also, the bottle reached the Forensic Science Laboratory much later, and there is absolutely no evidence as to where and with whom the bottle remained during this period. All these circumstances make the prosecution case on recovery of the Limca bottle from the residence of the appellant highly suspect. There appears to be hardly anything in the prosecution evidence to establish the charge against the appellant. The facts and circumstances of the case may give rise to a strong suspicion against the appellant, but suspicion, howsoever strong, cannot take place of proof. There is no proof of the appellant's guilt, and on the basis of the evidence on record, it would be quite unsafe to hold him guilty of murder and to send him to imprisonment for life. The trial court had taken the perfectly correct view in the matter. The High Court was unable to keep aside the so-called confessional statement made by the appellant. On the contrary, it put the confessional statement at the center and proceeded to examine all other evidence in its backdrop, and thus reached to a completely erroneous conclusion regarding his guilt.